The idea of borders during the ancient Roman Empire it is really important because the borders of ancient Roman Empire develop specifically what, according to the ancient Greek Roman Empire, what is the just world. This is really interesting because if we have to consider the idea of the borders during the ancient Roman Empire, we have to consider that these borders were in particular what the ancient Roman Empire considered in relation with is type of law. In this sense, according to the idea of the Romans, it wasn't the idea in the Roman ancient empire of a natural law. As, for example, this idea it will be developed during the Middle Ages. But on the other hand, we know that in the period of the pagans, in the period of the paganism, therefore, in that period that arrived in general to the 4th century AD, we have to consider that on the one hand there is the idea of paganism, on the other hand there is the idea of just war in relation with, in any case, the idea that the Romans continue to conquer new type of territories in relation with the economic cost, and therefore they thought, for example, about the Romanization on the one hand, but also on the other hand on the potential economical ideas and economical impact that a new type of lands could develop for the Roman Empire. In this sense, there are two arguments that we have to consider. On the one hand, the argument of the law in relation with the idea of what was the world for the ancient Roman Empire. On the other hand, the idea of economical impact. In this sense, for example, the idea of borders, according to the Roman Empire, with its expansion, developed the idea of what, according to the Romans, it was the idea of just and unjust. The idea of, according to the Romans, the world as a potential idea of law, and that world outside the borders, that it wasn't the idea, that it wasn't considered into the idea of law. This is really important because in front of the barbarians, for example, the borders, the limes, according to the Roman Empire, were that specific type of idea where, in this sense, when the barbarians tried to enter into the Roman Empire without the potential Romanization of the Roman Empire, or in any case, the assault of the barbarians into the Roman Empire without the Romanization, according to the Romans, could be, in this sense, the potential end of the world. In fact, according to the Roman Empire, the barbarians could develop a relationship with the Roman Empire, but only according to the idea of Romanization that Romans develop in front of the barbarians and inside the barbarians, developing different type of conquests. In any case, when the barbarians try to enter into the Roman Empire and the Roman Empire try to defend his idea of Romanization, we understand that according to the Romans, the barbarians cannot have the idea of just and unjust. On the contrary, according to the Romans, the Rome idea, it was supported by the idea of just and unjust. This is the main idea that supported the Roman legions during the conquest that legions developed during the centuries. In fact, the legions, when developed the borders, in particular during all the history of Roman Empire, and defended also the borders, on the one hand, try to explain and try to export the idea of Romanization. This is really important because, according to the Roman law, or better, according to the Roman sense, the Roman meaning of conquest, there wasn't a particular type of problem in relation with exportation of ideas and law. In this sense, the Middle Ages debated about the exportation of ideals and cultures and values. According to the Roman period, it wasn't present because, according to the Romans, that population outside the borders, on that population outside the Roman sense, cannot have a law. Therefore, were, according to the Romans, irrational, and therefore, because irrationals, the Romans could conquer these populations. In the Middle Ages, instead, there was developed, for example, from some theologians, for example, the same Aquinas, Thomas Aquinas, the idea of rational idea in relation with intellect that all people can have, because there is only one creator, only one God who developed the creatures. Therefore, according to the paganism of Rome, because there is the paganism and the emperor, it is also a God. On the one hand, there is the idea that the emperor is a god and the empire is depended by the emperor or depended by the idea of a senate in relation with emperor, in particular with the idea of Octavian Augustus, the first emperor of Rome. On the other hand, there is the idea of law as a relationship between Rome and then barbarians when Rome conquered these barbarians. And in any case, these barbarians, according to Rome, has to uh, leave their culture in relation with the Romanization. Therefore, the Roman decided to maintain a specific type of tolerance, for example, with different type of barbarians. For example, the barbarians could maintain their costumes, their culture, but at the same time, the Roman idea it was that barbarians with time had to take the Roman law on the one hand and had to take the Roman constitution and also the idea of Roman consideration in relation with, in this sense, citizenships. This is really important because Roman developed this type of relationship into his borders between inclusivism of the other cultures, therefore the possibility to the other cultures, to the other population to become, on the other hand, the citizens of Rome, but on the other hand, there is this idea that Rome, with time, try to explain to this population that these ideas of law could develop only by Rome, and therefore the populations that were conquered by Rome had to develop for themselves the idea of law and just idea of Rome that Rome wanted to explain. This is really important because the idea of Rome in relation with its conquest as its empire was developed in particular between centuries and during the different type of centuries and the force of Rome it was properly this. On the other hand, the force of Rome it was the idea of Romanization and the conquest during the centuries of the territories and lands of barbarians. Then during time developed the idea of Rome and became part of the Roman citizenship. This is really important to explain. And in this sense, the idea of borders developed this idea of citizenships. In any case, also the borders had as a the second argument the idea of economical impact. In fact, Rome in particular decided to maintain his borders in relation with the natural element. For example, the rivers. We know, for example, the idea of the north part of the borders, the limes of the in the east part and in the western part of the Roman Empire. We know that the limes were, for example, the rivers. On the one hand, the Rhino, and on the other hand, the Danubio. Therefore, the idea that rivers that were important economically to the market, but on the other hand, also to defend better the borders that the legionaries could, and the legionaries in this sense could develop better this defense. And also Rome developed some important relationship also with barbarians outside the borders, that barbarians that were a little bit outside the borders because Rome wanted to maintain better in particular its borders. But in any case, Rome when tried to conquer also other lands, thought about if these new lands that Rome wanted to conquer, or in particular that the emperors with the time of emperors wanted to conquer, were important or could be important in relation with supply and cost to the idea of Rome. In fact, to conquer new lands without a specific type of supply that was more important than the cost, couldn't be important for Rome. Therefore, in fact, this is the main issue, because Rome decided to maintain its borders, for example, in the Reno and in Danubio, without continuing his expansion. We know, yeah, he conquered a part of Britain, but in any case, didn't develop new type of conquest outside these borders, because the idea of empire, it was the relation, its type of populations inside this inclusivism, that it was important in relation with the Romanization. Therefore, Rome considered really important that to maintain this big empire, it was on the one hand to consider the idea of citizenships in relation with the new barbarians that then arrived to become part of Rome. And these barbarians had to develop the idea of Romanization to become part of Rome, because if this couldn't happen, they could be a problem for the Roman citizens, or for the idea of Roman citizenships. On the other hand, there was the idea of economical impact in relation with law. Therefore, it was important, according to Rome, to maintain his type of economic idea of market, etc., but in particular also to maintain the idea of empire in relation with his expansions. An empire too expensive, too big, could be a serious problem for Rome. And this is the idea that, in any case, was developed also in the end of the Roman Empire, in particular by St. Augustine, against the idea of the city of the land. In fact, St. Augustine, and this is the last part of the Roman Empire, in the end of the 4th century BC and at the beginning of the 5th century BC, we know that according to the periodizations, Rome was fallen in the 479 AD. In any case, with the end of the last Roman Emperor Romulus Augustus, but in the end, we know that also the Goths, for example, the barbarians, arrived to Rome also at the beginning of the 5th century AD, and this is the main type of issue that Saint Augustine developed and taught in his City of God. In this sense, the idea of Christianity, with Constantine that founded Constantinople in 330, and with Constantine, the Christianity became the main religion and the official religion of the Roman Empire. This is really important because with this type of new idea, the difference between paganism and Christianity, with the end of the emperor as God, but with the beginning of the idea of Christ, that is, it was incurred, it was part of a human sense, but he was son of God, and there is only one God as part of the eternity, and that creates humans and the human being. This is really important because, in this sense, according to Augustine, St. Augustine, it wasn't the emperor, it wasn't, for example, Octavian, that it was main important to support the empire, but the city of land, it is different by the city of God. The empire is a part of a human fact that is imperfect and that is limited. And in this sense, the human ideas are limited, but because, on the other hand, it is important to explain, God gave the ideas to humans, but these ideas are only in potential in front of the main act of God, and this potential could become act but during time, according to St. Augustine, because time is linear, and man cannot develop the main act as God can. Therefore, if it is true, human facts are limited, and human facts change during time, and things changed. Also, the empires changed. Also, the constitutions changed. Also, the human facts changed. And empire, in the end, fell. And new type of political organization can develop, but at the same time, other type of political organization can fall. And this is the issue of the human facts. The city of God instead is perfect and it is eternal. In fact, in this sense, if Octavian exalted the empire, explained that the Roman Empire is the main empire in this sense, as his emperor it was the god, according to St. Augustine, the emperor is only a man, and the Roman Empire is a human fact that is in relation with a limitation of time. Only God is eternal. This is also the main issue that develop the idea of borders in relation with the political thought. In fact, in the idea of paganism, the borders, it was that idea that develop a just and unjust in relation with the limits, in relation with the borders. But according to St. Augustine and according to Christian religion, the borders is outside the idea of physics, because there is the metaphysical idea that develop an objective rule and objective law as a city of God. Therefore, the barbarians could also enter into the Roman Empire. They could be a problem. But in any case, they could not change the issue of God because the God is eternal. And human empire could also fall, but at the same time, the idea of Christianity cannot fall. This is really important. This is the main topic that Augustine explained. Bye.